Hi all, and welcome back to going into the final few pieces. A couple of things I'd like to cover. We have a lot of new members, and some questions cropped up. So these next two pieces will be kind of a review of where we stand, where we come from, and where we're at, and why certain things get said and why certain things get dismissed or whatever. So there's a lot of new people, and some people are thinking that I dismiss a lot of the alt media people and their narrative. NESARA, GESARA, San Germain Trust, collateral accounts, OPPT, birth certificates and ERV. They were all discounted a long time back, long before I joined up with the Manor World Home Trust. Now some think that I have these opinions based on me working with the trust, and I get that, but long-term members will all tell you very different. You know, I did work alongside Neil Keenan on the collateral accounts, but if Drake was honest, he will tell you I doubted it from October 2013 onwards, but was told it was all good and Drake had vetted Neil Keenan, etc. And my admins will confirm that also. But once it got to the end of 2014, I had sufficient knowledge to know who and what that project was for and about. And again, I warned Drake several times, all of which he denied, despite at this point Keenan had cut him off. And Drake used to send me to ask him questions at that point. Most of the collateral accounts is the Hudis, OITC and Keenan et al. Racy Dan was another one. Is to do with stolen gold or other treasures or other assets during wartime that were placed in Indonesia and several other islands connected to the Pindar Marcos, who was rogue, despite what certain alt media characters tell you. Pindars are not there for the benefit of the people, they're there for the Draco. Now, NESARA was a real program, but it was for the Farmers of America refund, not a global payout. Never was. GESARA has no validity whatsoever. The San Germain Trust never existed ever in history. Again, I've seen with my own eyes all the 6,500 trusts. I went through the book and checked off all the names. 6,500 trusts, and not one was named San Germain Trust or anything like it. And all those trusts were in fact slush funds for criminal enterprises for and by the elites. Now it's all rolled into one, and they have no access to it, and won't be getting it either. As I said, the collateral accounts were based on the Pindar Marcos stealing off every country, and it was a Langley based operation in league with the Black Dragon Group of Asia and America and the Rothschilds, more commonly known as the Chinese Elders. Officially, there are no Chinese elders. It's all fake. Now, OPPT and the birth certificates was another ruse on the people. Seduced them with potential payouts, what was it, 6 million each or some other banal figure, and they would then take control of the birth certificates. And so it was going to go from one rogue organisation, the Vatican, to another rogue organisation. Now, thankfully that was stopped, including the recent attempt to reevaluate those birth certificates. And yes, our birth certificates have a lot of value on them, but that value can never be paid out. Never. It would crash the whole economy, Plus, what use is it if everyone becomes multi-millionaires overnight? None whatsoever. And to the generals who listen to this show, please take note of that last statement. Society would collapse. All of you sitting there with your pallets of dinars. It's not happening. Things have to be phased in and phased out. You know, a complete 180 with a society largely based on everyone for themselves would be catastrophic. As for the RV, it was fake to begin with, even ignoring the fact that it was a ruse to distract the global elites initially and then the public. To start that off would require more funds than everyone who has ever lived on this planet and has spent for at least the last 1,000 years. The assets required for that RV are 3 to 4 planets worth. Some asked me to address and put some. I want to make this the final clarity on the Kent Dunn Drake situation or issue that has cropped up. Of course, Kent Dunn has made alarming statements about Kim and myself. But that's Kent Dunn, you know. So this is so we can all move on. You know, I warned Drake that he was total bullshit back in 2014, 15 time, around there. Will Drake admit it? Probably not, as pride gets in the way much of who and what Drake is. And no matter what Drake did to me on the Cosmic Voice show, you all know by now it was wrong on his part, and so does he, deep down. But it has worked out well for us both. Whilst many were upset at what Drake did back in May of 16 and the lies told against us to cover up what was really going on, it didn't sit well with many, and me also. But time moves on. You know, Drake's show went his way, which he felt was not his show anymore, and we created THI and went on a more progressive-based show that encompasses many topics, including the self-work, which is the most important. But I, for one, can never understand why Drake went in with Kent Dunn to begin with. You know, since when does Drake need clowns like Kent Dunn to get his message across? But it's another example of Drake being lured into wrong paths and people. And that even preceded me being part of that show. You know, I don't need to mention the names. Most are familiar with them now. But it was a litany of failed shows, platforms and people with much discord that went on for months in each successive group or connection. You know, I was one of the few who got to see the real Drake. His strengths and his weaknesses, he lets few in. But the man has a big heart, deep down. Below the bravado he projects onto the show, which covers up much of the real Drake. Which is kind of sad in a way. And he does carry a lot of unaddressed guilt, as we all do. And this is why it's key to process it, heal it and let it go. But Drake got led down a merry path by Keenan before I left and also after. And once Keenan and David Wilcock had got him to remove me from that show, they then dumped him like a hot potato. Part of me says, well, you reap what you sow, but the larger part of me feels sad for him. And he is his own worst enemy at times. He knows this deep down. And so now he's been burned by Kent Dunn, just like all the others before, except one person. That one person who stood by him despite some of his, shall we say, questionable antics. But the shows have moved on. The difference between his show and ours is one wants to take on the system direct and challenge it to a duel which will involve violence. The other wants to build our own system that has the all working together. And once that system is built in our image, not theirs, theirs will disappear naturally. One talks of violence. One knows that will never work and is not conducive to harmony, when better solutions are there if enough people commit to it. As for Kent Dunn, to me he's like the male version of Cindy K. Courier. Pulls pieces off the internet, runs with it, makes shit up as they go along. And one has to ask why any of our members bother to listen to these people talking about saviour programmes and bullshit with a track record of zero of their predictions, promises or narratives ever coming true. That hour or so listening to clowns like Kent Dunn would be better spent improving the self or working towards solutions to fix the world's problems, would it not? And it's a classic case of not observing where your attention goes, as the case may be. Now, Kent says he's a Pleiadian. Fine. But my experience of Pleiadians is not the glossy woo-woo version portrayed by the New Age style followers all over the internet. The Alcyons, Pleiadians, connected to Cobra, sold this planet out to the Draco for tech many years back. They were the guardians of this planet. And as for the other Pleiadians, let's not forget the Nibiru crew that came from that region also, with their Anunnaki fake gods. Perhaps Kent's one of them. Who knows for certain? But one thing we know for certain is the man is full of bullshit. Period. And I'm glad Drake is away from him, but I will never understand why Drake put himself and his followers in that field to begin with. But that's Drake in a nutshell, whether people love him or not. I know he has far more to offer than he presents, and that is a great sadness to me and many others. We'll be back shortly.